Hello guys and welcome back to another Valheim build guide, and today we're going to be looking at some great tips for building with stone in Valheim so that you can show off your building skills when playing with your friends. Now let's get started. First of all, why build with stone? Well, stone is much stronger as a material, making it less prone to breaking if someone's attacking you. And there is also, of course, one major advantage when stone is combined with wood, which is odd if you look at them separately. Take for example the wooden beams here. End on end we can reach a height of 8 planks. This of course drastically improves with core wood, allowing us to gain a reach of 12 ordinary planks in height. Stone, however, as you can see here, limits us to 8 wood beams stacked in height. So why is this so good? Well, stone, when combined with wood, resets the wood's durability, essentially counting as if it is supported against a foundation piece. This allows us to build up to 16 planks in height, but also allows us to build wider at higher heights without the use of pillars in the middle of the room. And before we move on, what I should also mention is this can also be combined with iron beams, granting us dramatically further maximum heights and widths to our builds. So now we know why it's so great, let's get into the basics and then further onto the tips. Now before we get started with our stone builds, the number one and most important rule is that you make sure the ground is as flat as possible to start with. This is the same with any build, but even more so here, because if you're trying to build all on one level, on one grid, and you do not have a flat piece of ground, you may find yourself struggling to place stone because it'll be collapsing. By the way, if you find my content useful, why not click the like button and subscribe? And if you're dying to see a particular Valheim guide from me, then be sure to let me know what you'd like me to do in the comment section below. To build with stone, you need to unlock the stone cutter first, which can be done once you've unlocked iron. The stone cutter needs to be placed at each build location, very much like the craft bench when building wooden structures. You can place stone floor foundation pieces across the bottom of your build. This certainly works, but I feel it's rarely necessary. I don't actually like the look of them. So unless you're building large buildings, I much rather use a wooden support for flooring, or even better yet, the paved road option with the hoe. You just need to make sure that it's extra flat. If you want tips on lowering the ground level, I'll place a link above. But I feel this works both great outside, but also makes it look pretty cool on the inside, a bit like an old kitchen. Along with unlocking all these stone building blocks, we also have the option to build hearths. Now when it comes to building walls, you can build straight up, but I would actually recommend a brick layered style. That way if some pesky friend decides to destroy a couple stones, the whole section won't collapse all at once. Now the theory is simple, you build one layer and then stagger a second layer on top, and you repeat until you're happy. This can also be done horizontally to give the build some depth, such as the machicolations on a castle wall. This style can also help build the crenellations, and when using the single stone wall, you can easily build the merlons on top by holding shift and placing that across the center. You can then place single walls across the whole section and delete the wall in between. This of course does get a whole lot more difficult when building circular towers, but for a circular tower, I recommend placing 2 double-length stones next to one another, then pivot them by 1 point and repeating. And when it comes to these circular builds, it's really important to make sure that they're built inside one another, as this will help later on. And we're just going to repeat this until we have the full circle. To do a second layer, place a second stone into the pivot point of the stone block and then do it on the other pivot side as well. This is most definitely time consuming, but it gives it a nice look overall. In the middle of the 2 straight blocks, you can place a double and repeat this around the whole build. Alternatively, I prefer doing the same, but rather than doing a single pivot point, doing 2 pivot points. This gives it a much smaller circle. It's actually an octagon, but it's perfect for the outer towers. Repeat the same process and build upwards. The great thing about building in double rows of stone blocks is that it allows us to also use the 4x2 stone walls, which can drastically reduce build time and also build cost, as it's far cheaper to build 1 large stone block than 8 small ones. Now, if you do want to farm stone for these massive builds, you may want to build a spawner farm. I'll place a link to the one that I've done above, but with the fire mechanics having been changed a little, I'm still working on a solution for this. And I'm personally not too keen on stone floors like I mentioned earlier, but of course you can use them. But generally speaking, when I'm building these towers, I prefer using wooden flooring. Note that stone arches can be built onto a side piece of a wall. This can give your internal sections a really nice tunnel aesthetic. Now, for extra durability, another great tip is to build either the wooden iron beams or even the iron gates into the walls. This improves the durability drastically, and this all in turn allows us to build much larger castles or cathedrals or any other large monumental buildings that you want. Now, I am currently working on a wooden castle, which you can find the most recent temple build time-lapse in the top right-hand corner right now. But if you want me to work on a stone castle after, then let me know in the comment section below. The next thing that I want to cover is how to build a basic stone arched bridge. This is more for decoration than anything else, and what we're going to do is start out with the mudded path, which you can see here. This is what I've been using. You don't need to do this, but it's good to have an idea as to where you want to build the bridge. After I've done this, the next thing I want to do is place stones so that it covers the whole of the foundation across the water. I'm doing this to give us a grid to work from, which is going to be really important. At this point, we need to plan where the arches will be. I place down a double block up to the height of the arches and then place arches either side. And at this point, we can build the outer walls. I like to use the staggered bricklaying approach, and you can fill the inner with the large blocks to save on resources. And at this point, you can also place the stairs. The reason that we use the bricklaying approach is that it gives more support, allowing us to span larger gaps, especially if this was a bigger bridge. Now at this point, we're going to delete the blocks between the arches, and after that we have the basic bridge, which is where you can now start to decorate it and put your personal taste to it. I'm going to use a bit of trimming on the outside, and I'm also going to build the stone footpath into the bridge to give it extra depth and also to make it feel more in place with the surroundings. But you can decorate it as you choose, whether that's adding a roof on top or just keeping it plain and simple. Anyway guys, that's all we have time for in this video. I hope you found it useful. If so, please do drop the video a thumbs up, and obviously if you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. Anyway guys, until next time, thank you so much for watching, and thank you to all of our amazing supporters, most notably our Solar Eclipse Patreons, the Calamity, Cerebral Tag and Trebor, as well as our Lunar Eclipse Patreons, Matt Lippard, Chris McCabe and Lord of July, as well as our Blood Moon of the Day, which is It's Bits. Anyway guys, until next time, thank you so much for watching, and as always, ciao for now.